All right, it's about 8:15 p.m. On Wednesday, April 30th. I've been taking this week off from TikTok since Saturday. But I read something. I was just going to do this to my YouTube page, link in the link tree in my bio. That's where I've been putting all my videos this week. But I read something that was... I read a lot of things every day, and this was by far the most interesting thing that I read today. And so I wanted to post it on my TikTok page as well, so that more people will see it. It's an opinion piece from, I believe, the Washington Post by a black woman named Karen Attiah, A-T-T-I-H. I read the title and the subtitle of her essay, and it's not super long, but again, this is the most interesting thing I've read today. The title of her piece today is about the movie Sinners. Sinners is a black challenge to white Christianity. I read that and I was like, that sounds interesting. Subtitled, Ryan Coogler's masterpiece mixes African spirits, the American church, and the power of music into a terrifying brew. Long story, but growing up, I got to hear a lot of recordings of African drumming, and that was one of the things that got me into wanting to be a drummer. And so that influence was there in my existence from a very, very young age. So she starts out her essay by saying the following: the great pioneering Afrobeat musician Fela Kuti, K-U-T-I, said, "Music is a spiritual thing. You don't play with music. If you play with music, you will die young, because when the higher forces give you the gift of music, musicianship, it must be well used for the good of humanity." I had not heard that quote before. I thought that was pretty cool. And she goes on, "I couldn't stop thinking about Kuti's quote as I watched Ryan Coogler's horror masterpiece, Sinners. The movie..." And she says, and if you haven't seen it, this column contains spoilers. I'm going to skip over a couple of those things, just heads up. Displays the dual power of music as a carrier, not just of entertainment, but of power. The ability of the musically talented main character, Sammy, to summon both the living and the undead is a sign that music can create portals between the material world and the spiritual world. It's why drums and singing in the West African traditional practices the author follows are used to summon spirits and orishas, allowing them to temporarily inhabit the bodies of the initiated. Yeah, you don't play with music, you respect it, because higher forces are at work. Which leads to what I would argue is the spiritual power of the film. The overt references to African and diaspora spirituality are both subversive and affirming. Sinners is intended to be a horror film with all the hallmarks of a traditional vampire drama set in Depression-era Mississippi Delta. There are all sorts of indications that the main characters are in proximity to and navigating around life-threatening forces. Two of the characters are twins, Smoke and Stack. They are both played by Michael B. Jordan. They tried escaping the South and settling in Chicago, which turned out to be just a Jim Crow town with skyscrapers. Within the context of the movie, it's clear that the twins, these two characters, have seen war. They've mixed it up with gangsters in Chicago. They tempt fate again by buying an old mill from white supremacists in Mississippi. But as is the American parentheses male close parentheses way, they believe that guns and money will protect them. And this is the truth that even the vampires tell the living, that in white America, black people will never be safe, no matter how many guns or dollars they have, because the vampires, whatever they represent, whether it be colonialism or white supremacy, will suck the life force and the talent of whatever comes their way. But we knew that, right? As white power rises again from the White House, We know that black progress, joy, hell, having a black president, unleashed a monstrous effort to purge black people and other minorities from positions of power and influence. Then the author of the article goes on to say that as someone who grew up evangelical Christian in an African home, she was taught to fear anything related to African spiritual power or to the ability of black people to summon spirits. She was taught that African spirituality was demonic. The film has overt references to hoodoo, root working, spiritual power of black and African women, represented in the character named Annie, who sees threats before they materialize. She is the one who recognizes that the protagonists are up against vampires, hungry spirits. She is the one who gives Smoke, one of the twin characters, spiritual protection in the form of a talisman around his neck. She knows how to kill the vampires, the ones that suck the life out of minorities, the environment, and one another in a quest for enlightenment, the desire to live forever. And Smoke and Stack are the direct embodiment of the Yoruba Orisha force Ibeyi. Sorry if I mispronounced that, it's spelled I-B-E-Y-I. Identical twins are believed to carry special forces. They are divine beings charged with protecting families and communities. I'm not surprised, the author, I'm not surprised to see many black Christians online dismissing sinners as demonic. It's not the blood or the gore that is a threat to them. It's that sinners questions Christian conditioning and its role in the material plundering of the world, the colonization of Africa, of Ireland, the enslavement of black people, and the mandate to dominate the earth itself. Sammy, the main character, Sammy's ambivalence with the church and with his pastor father, who teaches him to fear his natural musical gifts and powers, is closely akin to the increasing distance the author's generation of black and African people is feeling with the white church. But leaving doesn't always mean that Christianity's conditioning completely leaves us. The author considers herself to be one of those who has left the American evangelical church unable to recognize as legitimate a belief system that doesn't worship Jesus' example to help the poor, the sick, and the hungry. A church system that doesn't recognize Jesus' love and empathy, but rather worships money and power for money and power's sake. Sammy's journey in Sinners is to follow his instincts, which draw him away from his father and into the full understanding of his musical gifts. That is a metaphor for the very real distancing and awakening happening among black people in the diaspora. There has been increasing interest in returning to African spiritualities outside the church, and more young black people are identifying as agnostic or spiritual rather than Christian. Here's where I'm going to skip a couple things. But at the end of the film, Sammy does return. Conditioning is hard to break even after being exposed to the truth of Christianity's tainted role in our own disempowerment. She concludes with this, and maybe that is the true horror and triumph of the film. If black people could use their spiritual power to defeat the hungry spirits of exploitation, colonization, and white supremacy, the world would never be the same. So, like I said, I read a lot of stuff every day. I have not seen the movie Sinners yet. I've just found this to be an extremely interesting essay that I very, very much want to see the film now, because now I can take Karen Atia's perspective into that film with me, which would not have happened before. So I'm grateful that I found this essay today. It's in the Washington Post. If anybody wants to go find it, read it, share it with others. Yeah, this was a great essay. Go out and read things that you normally wouldn't read, and you'll come across stuff like this. Super cool, very well written. Extremely thoughtful essay. And now I'm looking forward to seeing that movie more than I was before. All right. Have a great night, everybody.